then you definitely want to stick around because this is the stitch tutorial for you. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Stitch Sessions. Today I have such a fun tutorial for you. It's a stitch tutorial, and isn't that texture just scrumptious? I adore it, and you will fall off your chair when you see how easy this is. It looks really intricate. It creates a nice dense texture, but actually it has a lot of stretch if you work it vertically. This is called the it's called the crossover single crochet stitch. It has been called the crossed single crochet stitch, but if you try and look it up, it's actually a different stitch altogether. And there may actually be a couple of other names for this, but I was just playing around with the X stitch, which I have done on this channel as well, using double crochet stitches. And I thought, well, if we can do it with double crochets, we can certainly do it with single crochets. And if you know of a different title or name that this stitch goes by, please do share it with us in the comment box down below. And that helps us stay well informed. But I've seen it called the crossover stitch or the crossover single crochet stitch. Look at how pretty that is. This would make a fantastic stitch for a blanket project, scarves, hats, cardigans would be really nice, especially if you are looking for a dense stitch. So you can use this for all kinds of things. Now I've done this here in this teal color, and it just shows the stitching just beautifully. And it is the same on the front as it is on the back. And so for today's tutorial, I'm gonna show you in just this yellow color. I think it'll make it a little easier for you guys to see where I'm placing my hook and how the stitch comes to be. So let's get to it. Okay, so just a couple little notes here. If you are wondering about yarn and hooks, this is just a sample of this stitch. Generally, one of my favorite hooks to use is a 6mm hook, which is also known as a J or a size 10. I always recommend this hook if you are a super beginner crocheter. It's just nice and easy to hold, and it'll make seeing your stitches a little bit easier. Generally, you'll see me use between a 5 to a 6. Sometimes I use a 5.5, but that's generally my happy range of hook sizes. So this yarn is actually a medium 4-weight yarn. They actually recommend a 5mm hook, but those of you that know me know I go a little rogue, and sometimes I like to size up my hook just because generally I like to create a little extra softness and drape. And especially if you are a tight crocheter, this is my biggest recommendation to you, is always go a half or a full hook size larger. And this is one of my favorite yarns to use in general for things like blankets and baby projects. It's the Bernat. This one's the Bernat Super Value. I also like using the Bernat Premium yarn. I just think it's just wonderful, and they have an amazing array of colors, and it's really nice and easy to use. This is not sponsored. This is just generally the yarn I like to use. So that's what we're gonna use today, and if you're wondering, the color is just simply called yellow. Okay, and for any project, make sure you always have a pair of scissors and a yarn needle on hand to weave in your ends. And I like to remind my newer crochet friends that a yarn needle is much different than a thread needle. As you can see, that eye is a lot larger. All right, so let's get started on our crossover single crochet stitch. Okay, so we are going to begin by placing a slip knot on our hook. And this stitch is done in multiples of 2, and then you will add one more chain at the end. So however long you would like your project to be, you're just going to count in multiples of 2. And when you get your desired length, just add one more stitch. So for this tutorial, I'm just going to create a swatch of 16 stitches. So I'm going to chain 16. And then I will add one more at the end. 13, 14, 15, and 16. So I've got 16 stitches. That's multiples of 2. And then I'm going to add one more chain at the end. And this is just simply going to help us turn so that we can begin row number 1. Now, For row number 1, when I do a stitch like this, I like to just do a simple, what I call an establishing row. Some people would go right away into the stitch pattern, but I'm going to do an establishing row of single crochet stitches. So I'm going to find the second chain from the hook. So we have 1 and 2, and I'm just going to place a single crochet into it. Okay, so for row number 1, just 1 single crochet into every single stitch across. And when you get to the end of your row, you will have 16 stitches. Okay, so I have completed row number 1, so my establishing row is complete. I have 16 single crochets. So we're gonna go on to row number 2, which is the pattern repeat. It's only a 1 row repeat that you'll continue to form back and forth. And so we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And into that very first stitch, we're gonna place a single crochet. So our chain 1 at the beginning just helps us to turn our work. It doesn't really count as anything. So we have a single crochet there. Now, what we're gonna do next is we're going to skip this next stitch and we're gonna go into the stitch after that. So see, right there. And we're gonna place a single crochet. So I'm gonna insert my hook and single crochet. Now, because we're gonna be doing a crossed over technique, you really want to stitch fairly, I don't want to say loosely, but relaxed. So when I single crochet, I'm just going to keep it nice and relaxed, okay? If you're a tight crocheter, as always, like I said before, go up a hook size, because this is the type of stitch that it crunches in on its own, so you don't want to be tight to begin with. So we've skipped this stitch and we've done a stitch here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the skip stitch. We're going to insert our hook and we're going to single crochet. So you pull up a loop, and this is where, again, you want to be relaxed. So I like to pull it up a little bit, nice loose stitch, and then I pull through both of them. And that is the crossover single crochet, because we always go back a stitch and cross over. It's as simple as that. Now, we're going to do it a few more times. So just be aware that this stitch has already been worked. So just always watch out for that, because it's easy to want to go into that one. So we skip the next stitch, and into the following stitch, we single crochet, nice and relaxed. Then we come back to the skipped stitch. You can always see that there's a gap there. And then we single crochet into that. So what's happening is these loops are crossing over the previously worked stitch. See that? So you can see there's a slant there. So if I pick up this one here, you can definitely see it in this one. You can see where the stitches begin to slant. And by working it back and forth is where you get that really pretty, what looks like rows of like little star stitches almost. Pretty, pretty, we like it. Okay, so again, skip the next stitch into the following stitch, single crochet, nice and relaxed, and we go back to the skipped stitch and insert our hook. And there's another crossover stitch. So you're going to keep repeating that to the end of your row. So skip the next one into the following single crochet, and you always backtrack 1. So skip a stitch, single crochet, skip, single crochet, come back, and single crochet into the skipped stitch. So you do that all the way. See if I hold it that way. Pretty, pretty. You're going to do that all the way to the end of your row, and I'm just almost at the end here, so I'm going to stay with you guys. Okay, so I have 3 stitches left, 1, 2, and then there's that chain 1 we used to turn. So again, we will skip this stitch into the following single crochet, and then we backtrack, single crochet. Now you'll have 1 stitch left. You just simply go into that stitch and you just place 1 single crochet, and your row is complete. See that? Oh, this would make such a pretty baby blanket. So your row will always begin with a single crochet and end with a single crochet. And for me, I just like doing that because it just gives your edges a nice even consistency. So this is the stitch. You will then continue to just repeat the exact same thing to create the length of your work. So I'm going to take you on to row number 3 to show you how to continue. So you always chain 1, turn your work, and you always begin with a single crochet in that very first stitch. And then we skip the next stitch, which is right here, and then into the following stitch. Usually it shows itself right there. We're going to single crochet, and then we come back to that very first stitch and single crochet. It's very straightforward. Once you get into the groove of it, it's really so nice and easy. So then again, skip the next stitch into the following stitch, single crochet, and then we backtrack and we cross over that stitch and single crochet. So you see now the first stitch with this stitch, you can see it starts creating this really, really cool, pretty texture. That's it, guys. That's the crossed over single crochet stitch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish several more rows just so you can see it in the lighter color as well. In this one, I ended up doing 12 rows here, and it takes 2 rows to create these little separators, it looks like. So it looks like this is 1 row, but it's actually 2 rows worked. Just love that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just finish this swatch so you can also see it in yellow. I hope you guys think that this is super easy, and I hope it's gonna inspire you to jump in and try and use this stitch in a couple of your own projects. Okay guys, and here it is. I have finished 10 rows, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, technically 11 with the foundation chain. Is that not the sweetest, beautiful texture you've ever seen? And all we did, guys, was use the single crochet stitch. So I know sometimes with newer crocheters, you know, they always say to me, well, all I know is the single crochet stitch. I'm still practicing the single crochet. There's, you know, not much I can do. But guess what? There are a lot of fun, really beautiful, intricate looking variations on the single crochet stitch that you can do. And it's just a little elevation of a basic stitch. Now, for those of you that are curious about the crossed double crochet stitch or the crossover double crochet stitch, I'll leave a link for that in the description box down below. This is probably also now becoming my newest favorite. The next one closest to this was the linked single crochet stitch, which is also using the single crochet. And I've done several projects using that project. I'll leave a link to those in the description box down below, because I really want to give all of my crochet friends the freedom to feel like they're really expanding their creativity. And so stitches like these using super basic crochet elements really do allow you to still have that fun and freedom to be a little bit more creative. So this is the crossover single crochet stitch. I hope you enjoyed it and found it really easy. And oh, I just see this. Oh, look at these 2 colors together. I definitely see a spring project coming up with this stitch and these colors. Now, let me know, guys. Leave me a comment down below. What will you use this stitch for? Does it inspire you to create anything in particular? Let us know. Let's share some ideas down below. So if you have any, in-depth questions regarding this stitch or any of my tutorials, you guys know I always invite you to please do leave them for me in the comment box down below. And if you prefer to email me directly, you can do that at info@crochetcrafty.com. I'm always very happy to answer any questions you may have. And as always, I invite you to visit me at crochetcrafty.com. There's tons of goodies there for you. And sign up for my newsletter, where you'll get to see a lot more behind the scenes photos, and I go a little bit more in depth onto project itself. And sometimes you get a little bit better close-up pictures of the projects there. And you can also come say hi to me on the socials. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Session. So come over and say hi to me there, and make sure to tag me in any of your projects that you create using my designs. All right, that's it for today's project. I look forward to seeing you guys in next week's session. And as always, happy crocheting. Take really good care of yourselves, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.